Good evening, everyone. This is the March 18th, 2021 meeting of the Town of Monroe Planning and Zoning Commission. I am Michael O'Reilly, Chairman of such commission, and it is now 7 p.m. I'm going to briefly read the information regarding this remote electronic public meeting. The Town of Monroe has selected GoToMeeting as the preferred technology to conduct remote meetings in compliance with Executive Order number 7B1. Any member of the public who desires to submit written information relative to the business set forth on the agenda may do so up to 1 hour in advance of the meeting by electronic mail to the address set forth on the meeting agenda. Notice is hereby given that this remote electronic meeting shall, 1, permit the public to view or listen anonymously, and when permitted, participate in real time. 2, be recorded and posted on the town's website within 7 days, and 3, be made available to the public within a reasonable amount of time in town hall. In addition to the standard parliamentary procedure as outlined on this agenda, the following special rules shall apply. Please mute your microphone so as to reduce background noise anytime you are not speaking. Prior to speaking and on each occasion, each speaker shall clearly state their name and title for the record. The use of the chat feature is prohibited. All right, I'm going to call the roll. Eventually. Okay. Chairman Maini.
Here.
Condon.
Here.
Ambrosi.
Here.
Westland.
Westland present.
Anichi.
Here.
Lupo.
Here.
Georgia Contois.
Here.
Rick Schultz.
Here.
And Sarah Stroud.
Here.
Great. We're all here, then we'll start the meeting. We're going to begin with general public participation. If there are any members of the public here tonight that would like to address the commission on any matters that are not on the agenda tonight and are not likely to come before the commission in the near future, you may do so now. Please identify yourself. Once again, if there are any members of the public that are here tonight that would like to address the commission on a matter that is not before the commission, please identify yourselves now. Okay, seeing none, then we'll start with our first public hearing, which is REA 2021-01, file number 1015E, last mile support facility. This is continued from our last meeting. Do we have any new exhibits, Rick?
Yes, we have the second item. You want to read the second item, Mr. Chairman?
Second item is SCP 2021-01, file number 1626A, 10 Victoria Drive.
Okay.
It's for that.
Exhibit. We have exhibit 16, AART comments, town engineer. Number 17, updated site plan. 18, municipal fiscal impact study. 19, updated landscaping plan. 20, ART town planner. That is all.
Thank you. And I see Attorney Nuff with us tonight. Do you want to start off?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nice to see all of you again. My name is John Nuff. I'm an attorney at 147 Broad Street in Milford, and I'm here tonight again on behalf of FSI Acquisitions LLC, which we've been indicating is the contract purchaser of the property at 10 Victoria Drive. You'll recall, Mr. Chairman, that we kept the hearing open a couple of weeks ago because we had not gotten responses from Scott Schosline as to our engineering report, our drainage reports, and we have had a exchange with your town engineer, and I can report that all of his issues have been satisfied. We have submitted for the record a slightly revised plan showing a detention basin. He wanted to take a very conservative perspective in terms of outflow of our stormwater system, and we are happy to accommodate his request. And so that's been made part of the record. It's a slight expansion of one of the detention basins. It takes up approximately 6 parking spaces, and we certainly have no objection to that modification, and we're happy to make that a condition of approval. So that was the primary reason why the hearing was kept open. But there's a couple of other things that a couple other follow-up items we wanted to review as well. You recall that we heard comments from 2 of the neighbors, one who was very much in support, and there's another neighbor who had a concern with regard to landscaping, particularly sort of an understory landscaping. So our cracked landscape architect, Wayne Violet, has submitted a new landscape plan. We are proposing an additional 180 trees and shrubs along the northern property line, specifically 60 evergreens and 120 understory shrubs to provide better visual protection to the neighbors to our north. And we're happy to do that. And we assume that the commission is going to be supportive of that modification as well. So again, we'd be happy to make that a condition of approval. There's a question regarding any impact should one of the gas tanks on one of the vans should leak or rupture. Certainly, we think it's very, very unlikely that that would happen, any sort of catastrophic rupture or even a long continuous leak. But nonetheless, in the event that that should happen, we have some other information for you courtesy of our engineer BL companies. So the entire site, every parking space on that site drains to one of 32 different catch basins. Each of those 32 catch basins has a 4-foot sump. Each sump can hold 240 gallons. So you would need a total of about 10 vans, assuming they have 25 gallons of fuel in their tanks, 10 vans to simultaneously rupture and all drain to the same catch basin to fill that 4-foot sump to the point that it would somehow then start working its way through the stormwater system. So there is virtually no chance of any kind that any fuel could ever make its way to a wetland or water course. As you probably know, sumps can be vacuumed if there's any sort of fuel spill or oil spill or anything like that. Sumps can be vacuumed and that material removed and caught before it can get into the, as I said, any wetland or water course. There was a question about whether or not we're going to have a 24-hour guard there. We have no current plans. I mean, certainly there's going to be some modest activity taking place in the evening. As you said, not a lot. The vans will return in the evening, and then those drivers will go home. But we can't rule out the possibility that there could be some maintenance or other folks working in the building there. But we have no plans for 24-hour security at the moment. There's a question about trucks and the weight limits. We had indicated that the vast majority of the vans are going to be about 9,500 pounds gross vehicle weights. We can't rule out, the stray sort of larger box truck. And so, we would really prefer not making that a condition of approval or in any way limiting the ability of larger trucks to occur there. But I would tell you that it will be a rarity and will not be done in the normal course. I think that summarizes all the things that we had discussed last time. I mean, we're obviously, the entire team is happy to answer any questions. Wayne is on the call if you wanted him to go through the landscape plan with a little more detail. But, I think that pretty much sums up where we're at.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Nuff. There was one other question about the hours of operation. I don't think you addressed that.
Oh yeah, so right, there's a question about whether it's going to be 24 hours or not. And I think that's sort of tied into the question regarding whether we're going to have a guard there 24 hours. As I said, the vast majority of the activity will be taking place, from, typical morning hours when the van drivers appear on site, and then when they come back in the evening time to 7 or 8 o'clock at night, drop off their vans and pick up their passenger vehicles. So we think that there's going to be very little activity taking place much later than 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. But as I said, we can't rule out, anything happening at the time. I mean, there could be an opportunity for, work taking place in the building itself. So, we don't want to limit the hours specifically, but as I said, the vast majority of hours are going to be between, 7 in the morning and 9 and 10 at night, at which time the place will pretty much shut down. And honestly, it's going to be a totally innocuous and innate use in that, nothing's going to be taking place on the property.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Nuff. I'm going to poll the commissioners for questions. We'll start with Commissioner Lupo.
Thank you. Thank you again for your presentation, and you answered almost all my questions, and I definitely support the project and support Monroe growing and supporting e-commerce as that becomes a trend in the future. So I think this is great. I do have two questions really. One, I've been hearing some talk among some other people that they're questioning some potential loopholes with the time period the vans can be there before they are taxed, and whether this company has any plans to move the vans before that 3-month mark to avoid paying taxes in Monroe.
No, I mean, so clearly there is no loophole. We certainly don't want to try to take advantage of any loophole. The statute's really, really clear. If it's there for 3 months, we have to file, with your tax assessor. It's a practical matter. It would make no sense for trying to play some sort of shell game with vans and as a way of avoiding taxes. Obviously, these companies make their money by delivering their packages on time within days and when people order, and certainly trying to play that sort of a game would be counterproductive to their efforts to efficiently deliver their packages. So and we'd be happy, as you said, as we indicated, other towns are doing a sort of a accounting and then assessing a bill to make sure that the taxes are paid. And we have said repeatedly and met repeatedly with town staff, including your tax assessor, and have pledged, our support and the payment of the taxes as required by law.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I just wanted to make sure that I'm also voicing the concerns of the other residents of Monroe. So I appreciate that.
We get it. It's understandable, but we're pledging to follow the law, frankly. So and there's no desire to circumvent that.
Thank you. And then I forgot to ask this question last time. I know our rails to trail system goes right through there, and with the increased number of vans, was that considered at all? Or are there going to be any changes made to make that kind of safer for people going back and forth with all the vans going in and out?
You know what? I'm going to apologize. I don't know where that trail is located, and maybe Wayne or someone from BL can help me out on that. Try to see if
So, Mike Dion with BL Companies for the record. I do see the trail crosses Victoria Drive. We have not thought of adding any signage or anything to the Victoria Drive approaches, but I don't think there would be any objection to adding some rail crossing signs, not rail crossing, trail crossing signs there. So just to increase the safety and awareness of the van drivers that it's there.
Yeah, that would mean, as someone that uses the trail a lot and rides bikes back and forth there, I think it would be nice just to have some signage, just extra safety. Because there will be a number of vans going in and out, and just wouldn't want anyone being caught off guard. But those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks, Mike.
Sure thing, John.
All right, next we'll go to Commissioner Panici.
I think most of the questions were answered, so I have no more questions. I support the endeavor.
Thank you, Dominic. And then Commissioner Westland.
I think at this point, I feel the applicant has met all of our requests and recommendations. What size were the evergreens that were going in, the additional evergreens you were talking about tonight?
Wayne, can you help me out there? I'm assuming Wayne's on, isn't he?
Yes, Wayne Violet, BL Companies. If you guys are having trouble hearing me or seeing me, let me know. Regarding the question about the additional evergreen trees that we're proposing, the installed size for that plant material for the trees are 5 to 6 footers. Those proposed trees include arborvitae and eastern red cedar. Typically, we went with those particular species because we're really trying to get that more understory, lower screening, that between, ground level and 10 feet particularly. Mature size on those particular species are going to get anywhere from 15 to 20 feet. But installed size for those particular trees, those 60 trees that are going along that northern part of the parking lot are going to be between 5 and 6 feet.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking even, green giants, there's a lot of deer in the area, and they could tend to do a number on different species of arborvitaes if they're, if we're not careful what we're putting in there. And also, speaking to the signs on the road, that's an excellent point. I've gone up and down those trails. I know they're not traveled as heavy right there as they are in the center of town, but I do think that the signage should indicate to stop for pedestrians in the crosswalk. I think that should be it's very important because a lot of times people aren't used to seeing a lot of traffic going through there, and their children or whatever will wander ahead and they're not paying attention because they're not used to seeing a lot of traffic. So I think that'd be very important.
Understood. And we'd be happy to work with Rick in coming up with location and number and what those signs should say.
Very good. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. And Commissioner Ambrosi.
Hey, John, I still trying to narrow you down onto a weight limit. And the reason why I'm trying to narrow you down to that is because it's for commercial parking. And it goes with the property. So if for some reason that you guys aren't there any longer, then somebody can come in and it says it's for commercial parking, somebody can start parking tractor trailer trucks there. So I really have a lot of concern about that as far as, coming with a weight limit.
No, it's a good point, and candidly, I hadn't looked at it from that perspective on your concern. I will tell you that there is a very small likelihood that this tenant will leave at any time in the near future. And I understand that your obligation is to the town that even 10, 20, 30 years from now, something may occur. But as I said, the vast majority of the vehicles are going to be about 9,500 pounds gross vehicle weight. There may be a stray, tractor trailer or so, or a larger box truck, but again, that would be the anomaly and not the norm. I'd be happy to talk to Rick in terms of how we could formulate a condition to minimize that, or to address your concern that somehow it could become some sort of a truck stop. Again, I don't think this is the type of location where that would be going, because certainly you would expect to find that sort of facility along I-95 and not along Route 25 adjacent to the Merritt Parkway.
Yeah, and I understand that, and I'm like saying, because if it comes to to commercial parking, then it could turn into be a construction yard. It could turn into be a number of things. We can put excavators there and stuff like that. That's my only concern, is that I understand what your use is going to be on the property. I'm just concerned that there's some way that we need to come up with just one kind of weight limit so that something doesn't turn out to be a disaster going down even 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years down the road.
Understood.
Okay. And I believe that you took into consideration all the other comments that we had, and you came to some kind of agreement with the assessor on how you were going to handle this, right?
Yes, as we've indicated, we need to file a declaration for any vehicle that is there for 3 months or more. We have also offered the alternative of, simply doing a count and assessing, average per vehicle and assessing the tax in that manner. So we are happy to do it in whatever manner the tax assessor deems most appropriate and ensures to the best of our and the town's ability that the taxes are paid.
Okay, good. Thank you. And I thank you for all the work that you've done on this.
Okay, Commissioner Condon.
Yeah,
really just like to thank you guys. It does seem like you really are considering the neighbors, adding the extra vegetation was my main request last time, and I do appreciate that you've done that. You've talked about how there's concerns about the light on 25 that you're going to be fixing, which is good, and now the crosswalk is a great addition too. So no questions, just thanks for cooperating.
You know, if I could go back to Mr. Commissioner Ambrosi's comment, I just was looking again at the definition of a commercial vehicle facility. And the definition is an establishment where commercial licensed vehicles, typically consisting of fleet vehicles designed to carry freight, passengers for a fee, or merchandise. And it says, or which are incidental to the tradesman business. You know, so I think that also provides you an opportunity to preclude the type of uses and the type of vehicles that you're concerned about. You know, so I don't think that definition would allow the storage of, you know, 30 tractor trailers or, you know, anything like that. I think this is, I think what we're proposing is exactly what that definition is designed to accommodate.
So Rick, you can incorporate this into the approval?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm going to give a quick summary of my report when the applicant's done.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Commissioner Mayini?
The only concern I have is, but that last part just answered it, is the commercial, is concerns about commercial trucking there. Obviously we don't want to see construction equipment there, but there's obviously no need for it to be there with you guys for now.
Yeah.
That's something to plan down the road, but if we can incorporate something, I'm good with everything, and all your changes that you made are great. I'm good with everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then before we go to the public, Rick, do you want to add anything then?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just want to summarize, as the chairman indicated, all the staff reports have been submitted and found the application to be in compliant. Town engineer is satisfied. Inland wetlands is satisfied. Just a quick summary of my report. We have the applicant is proposing a little gatehouse with a control gate. And that's a small structure. The office building, 10,000 square feet. The applicant has indicated approximately 400 vehicles initially will be used, and that can go up to in excess of 600. Applicant is providing supplemental evergreen, as Commissioner Condon just alluded to, which is good. We have a sidewalk system that's going to go all the way up to Main Street and then go in a northerly direction in front of the corner property. The rail to trail does incorporate in front of this site, and that will be incorporated with the appropriate signage, which has been brought up. One of the issues I want to talk about in more detail is the fiscal impact analysis, which the commission has a copy of. I had an opportunity to discuss it with the assessor's office. It's important that the commission understand that this is a best case scenario. What you're seeing, which has a net positive fiscal impact of $544,189. And that number is consistent with the previous developments that this commission heard years past. So that's good. Overall, the assessor is satisfied with the report. Once again, it's this best case scenario. So if it's adjusted a little bit, it's still a good number for the community at whole. So that is it, Mr. Chairman. I just want to reconfirm that all the reports are in, and staff will then, if you proceed with a favorable resolution, staff will then prepare the resolution with all the appropriate conditions. That's all.
Thank you, Rick. Then now we'll go to the public. If there are any members of the public here tonight that would like to comment on this application or have any questions about this application, please let yourselves be known now. Hearing none, once again, if there are any members of the public that would like to comment on this application, now is the time. Hearing none, then I'll hand it back to you, Attorney Nuff, for a summation.
Mr. Chairman, I don't think we need to belabor it. We very much appreciate the commission's consideration and its diligence in reviewing the application. And Rick and the rest of your staff has been really terrific. We started discussing this with the town, frankly, last summer. I mean, shortly after COVID started. So it's, again, we very much appreciate the commission and the entire town's work with us. And we look forward to receiving a vote at your next meeting. So thank you.
Thank you. Then we will close the hearings tonight. The next item on the agenda, number 6, is SUB 2021-01, file number 1266C, which is 515 and 529 Cutlass Farm Road, United Methodist Church. This is reconvened from our last meeting. I think Mr. Bjorklund is here, right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm present.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, thank you. Since our last meeting, I did submit a letter with regards to the extension of the water line, and what you're looking at was the commission had recommended us installing or providing a 10-foot pedestrian easement that would lead back to the open space. And the map that is up before you shows that easement going back into the open space area. This map also indicates the widening of the right-of-way that Scott Schatzline had requested down in front of Lot 3. And I think we've satisfied all of the commission's requirements with regards to this subdivision. I'll be glad to answer any additional questions that the commission may have, but I don't think there's anything else to discuss here.
Mr. Chairman, I have new exhibits.
Go ahead, Rick.
Exhibit number 5, waiver request. Number 6, town engineer water line comments. Number 7, fire marshal water line comments. Number 8, updated easement map. That is all.
Thank you. Then I'm going to go to the commissioners for questions. We'll start with Commissioner Lupo again.
Thank you. I have no questions at this time. Thank you.
Commissioner Panici,
No question. Thank you.
Commissioner Westland,
None.
Commissioner Ambrosi,
Yeah, Dave, the fire marshal, he's not in favor of not putting up that, extending the water line. Is that what, did you discuss that in detail with him?
Yes, and we're agreeing to disagree. I don't think that's why the regulation was put that way. If we had a 10 lots subdivision, this would be a whole different situation, but the economics of serving one lot with public water in the 2-acre zone, the economics for what water lines cost, the lot isn't worth what it would cost to extend the water line. Part of the regulation is there has to be a sufficient number of lots created to extend the water line, and in this case the economics don't make sense. And I don't think that the intent of the regulation, as I said in the letter, was to extend water at any cost.
And Mr. Chairman, can I address this issue?
Go ahead, Rick.
Both the town engineer and the fire marshal are opposed to the waiver, but it's their position to recommend the extension of the water main line. They have no qualms with the commission using its judgment. They want to be consistent in their own evaluation. And that is why they took that position. But they have no qualms with the commission evaluating it and making a determination one way or the other. I just wanted to add that for the record.
Thank you. Commissioner Ambrosi.
Yeah, and Dave, you put the easement on the map for the back part, that parcel for the open space?
Yes, that's on the map. It's
Okay.
presented, that is up there right now.
All right, because I can hardly see that, but I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that was there. Okay, that's all I had. Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Mayini.
I'm good.
Okay, I have no questions.
I have no questions either.
Who did I miss?
Dr. Ryan? Yeah, no
Oh,
question.
Ryan, sorry.
Yeah,
Commissioner
every once in a while, he's still part of the commission.
Where are you? Oh, there you are. Do you have any questions?
No, I'm good.
All right, thank you. Then let's go to the public. Are any members of the public here tonight that would like to comment on the application before us here? Please make yourselves known. Are there any members of the public here tonight that would like to comment on the application before us? If not, then we'll go back to Mr. Bjorklund. Imagine you'd like us to close the hearing at this point.
Yes, I'd like to thank the commission for its consideration of this application, and I would recommend, I'd be in favor of closing the hearing on this re-subdivision application. Thank you.
And thank you. We'll hereby close the hearing. The next public hearing on the agenda is number 7, RAA 2021-02, file number 1016E. This is Mixed Use Design District and Special Development District. This is a continuation of the hearing that was opened at our last meeting. I think, Rick, you have new exhibits for this.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, we just have one exhibit, which is a recommendation to the commission on how to proceed with the review of this petition. Tonight, March 18th, the applicant would like to discuss the design district versus conventional zoning, identify specific areas of concern from commission members. Our next April 8th, location discussion, review where the district is proposed and what specific parcels could be subject to the MDD. Then the following, April 22nd, density discussions, units per acre and unit mix, affordability component. And then hopefully on May 6th, we could have the final review. So tonight will be design district versus conventional. And the applicant is present.
Okay, then let's go to, I believe, Mr. Soley.
Good evening, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Kevin Soley. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut at Soley Engineering. And yes, we did submit a letter, and I want to say I probably should have discussed this at the last hearing because it kind of came to me. I think the best way to proceed with this application, understanding that it is could be considerable change to the regulations, what we're proposing is to kind of break this application into smaller manageable chunks so that we can have more pointed discussions over specific topics at any individual meeting, and kind of hopefully prevent against longer drawn out discussions which could meander in directions and kind of lose focus and kind of belabor the discussion. So we submitted a letter to Rick. He just kind of summarized that. And what we're proposing to do is kind of, again, break out the discussion over several meetings. And I think that would be helpful for, or we certainly think that could be helpful for the commission to kind of focus the discussion and the concerns on each of those individual topics at those specific meetings to try to help facilitate and encourage more a robust conversation. So as Rick mentioned, we were thinking tonight, we just kind of wanted to talk about, again, the zoning concept that we're proposing, and then just go through the various sections of the regs and kind of gain some insight from the commission as to what individual commissioners may feel most any concerns about, or things that they want us to focus on, which will help us cater and tailor future presentations and even future revisions to our proposed regulation amendment. And then at the next meeting, the meeting in April, we would talk about the location of where this would fall and kind of do a much deeper dive in how this application could actually be applied to different parcels along the corridor we've identified, and really kind of help the commission understand that this isn't necessarily going to fall everywhere. The controls and protection measures we've built into the reg will really narrow down where this could be applied to help give the commission some better comfort on that. And then the following meeting, again, we would have a focused on discussion on the density we're proposing, the unit mix, and then the affordability component. And then hopefully, if we've had very successful and narrowly focused conversations throughout the duration, we would hope to kind of summarize everything, have whatever revisions in front of you, and try to have it here in closing that first meeting in May. So with that, I don't want to again, I want to try to keep our conversations short and focused so that everyone can have be fresh with what we're doing. So for tonight, again, we were going to talk about the concept of the overlay, the mixed-use design district. And as we talked about at the last hearing, we're kind of following a pretty widely adopted planning tool, something comparable to what's been done in Newtown, Connecticut. And I do know that the commission, I think the subcommittee was able to have some discussion with George Benson about how the town of Newtown has benefited from that type of zoning structure, and really why we feel that this is a better way to consider these types of applications on a more of a case-by-case basis. Because again, what the mixed-use design district in our proposed regulation does is it establishes an area, a geographical area, where a parcel could be eligible to apply under this, but then each individual project would apply for a special development district designation. And then that individual project, that individual SDD application would be entirely under the control and the discretion of the commission, and it's only for that specific property. There are other ways for commissions and planning commissions and municipalities to kind of adopt modifications to their regs. And this commission had recently adopted some mixed use regulations which apply to specific zones in town. Some of the challenges with that, when it's just allowed in the regulations, applicants can say, okay, I've met all my requirements. We think that we comply with the regulations, and it takes away some of that control from the commission versus the method that we're proposing, since it's a zone change and it's essentially creating that regulation every time. The commission has much more discretion and control, and can really treat every application on a case-by-case basis. And there's no concern, or there's much less concern about establishing precedent or creating a situation where someone could try to say, listen, we've met all your requirements, you have to approve this. We think that this planning tool and this planning methodology really kind of protects against that versus other ways that commissions can look at additional uses and things like that. So we believe, and again, I think we've had prolonged discussions. We think that really this is a very good, proper planning tool that the town of Monroe should consider, and I think this has been recommended in the POCD both the 2010 version and also the current draft, which is getting close to being finalized. There's always been talks about creating village districts or design districts or overlay districts, and this is simply kind of like, this application is really that first step. We believe, because it establishes the mechanism in the regulations, and it establishes that special development district component to give all these SDDs or give these types of projects a home in the regulations. So that's kind of why we think that this is the proper planning tool for the commission to consider. But with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions specific to the planning tool and the mechanism that we're proposing versus your traditional regulation amendment, which would just add additional uses in any and all zones.
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Soley. So the second part of tonight's meeting, I think it's identify specific areas of concern that we can focus on later. So why don't I hold the commissioners now so they can identify these areas. Do you want to? We'll start with Nicole Lupo.
Well, before we do that, I wanted to offer to answer any questions on the zoning mechanism that any commissioners may have, and then I was going to go through the different sections of the regs and let them chime in on which sections they were most concerned with.
All right, then we'll limit this go around to the zoning mechanism. Go ahead, Nicole.
No questions at this point, Mike. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Panici.
Thank you, Mr. Solly, for your presentation. But concerning the mechanism, you make a good argument that we as commissioner have more control going your route. At the same time, it doesn't leave a good level playing field for applicants. They might think that this applicant is treated different than the other applicant. So it's something to think about, where we still want to retain control, but at the same time, make it so that it's a level playing field for applicants. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Westland.
Well, I do feel that there could be some benefit to our town, especially after Mr. Benson's presentation. He put on a strong presentation. Add some, discretionary flexibility to our current regulations if it's properly used. But I also feel that it's an effort to kind of circumvent our initial efforts to test the mixed use, in our community at this point.
Okay, Commissioner Ambrosi.
Yeah, well, the question I had to ask Kevin is we don't, anything that we approve for this, and it's like either a special design district or anything like that, it would have to become a zone change, right?
That's correct. Yes. So
Right.
this first application is to create the mechanism for an applicant to bring in a project, and then once an applicant actually proposes to create this SDD or to create a project associated with an SDD, that would be treated as a zone change. And that application the commission has complete control over.
Right, and there's most of this will be handled in the town office, because if it doesn't meet the criteria, then they wouldn't even bring it in front of the commission.
You cut out for a minute there.
Am I right about that?
You cut out.
Yeah, but I'm saying most of it would be handled. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
No, I said most of it would be done through the staff. And if it doesn't really meet the criteria to put it there, then it probably wouldn't go in front of the commission anyway.
For 3 hours.
So this is just a mechanism for an applicant to it's another tool for staff to use in trying to guide an applicant if somebody is interested in pursuing a project. So if an applicant and staff met and talked about an option, and this was something that staff would maybe be encouraging of, It's another way for them to guide an applicant to say you can go to the commission under this tool. But then it really it's all dependent upon the commission's review of that individual project.
Yeah, and if the commission doesn't want to give it a zone change, it ends there. It doesn't go any further, right?
That's correct.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Commissioner Condon.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Rob in a sense. We did a lot to go over and come up with our initial mixed use plan. The commission did not agree really on mixed use, and it was a compromise between members of this commission to get to what we got. And really the compromise was, let's see what happens. Let's test the waters. I am for mixed use. I like the idea of mixed use, and I was on one side of that discussion, but we did a lot to get to that, and I don't want to necessarily just put something in that's going to wash that, which could end up forcing just a lot of no votes and us putting something in that's never going to go anywhere because we haven't taken the time to actually try the mixed use. So that's my concern. And that's really my only concern with it. I believe I understand the concept and I like it, but I just don't know if right now is the right time to do that before we've actually had any other form of mixed use come into the town. So.
Thank you. Commissioner Maini.
I actually am in huge favor of this concept. I think it allows us to reject nobody to come into this town, which is something that for a long time has been a talk about with Monroe. I think it gives the ability for anything and everything to come into this town. And it gives us the ability at the same time to control what we want and what we don't want in this town. It allows us to change a zone for something that may not fit but may be good for the town. I got that off of what I heard from Tuesday's subcommittee meeting, where, I mean, I don't know where everybody else stands, but that Tractor Supply is awesome in Newtown. I mean, I think that was a absolutely borderline genius play by the town. I think it was an amazing spot for it. I think it is an absolute home run, and it's because of things like this that allow a Tractor Supply to go into a Newtown where normally it wouldn't be able to go into that spot, and that spot's an absolute home run. We have that's just one example. I understand we're just focused on the mixed use part of it, and that's just kind of the hot button topic, and that's kind of where our minds go right away is, oh, mixed use, boom, done. But if we look at the grand picture, I think it's a pretty awesome idea, and being home the last couple of days gave me the ability to really think about it, and I'm 100% for it. I love it. I think it's a great idea. I think it could really be beneficial to the town. It could give us the ability to control stuff. That's just where I stand.
Thank you. I have a question too. I'm a little confused on the terminology. You have a mixed use design district, an MDD, and then you have a special development district, an SDD. Why do you need both, and what's the difference?
So that was something that's how the town of Newtown treats it. And what it does is it creates the South Main Village Design District creates the geographic area that would be eligible for the pursuit of a special development district. So what that does is it creates, the corridor that we established. This would all be basically an overlay design district where if an applicant wanted to, they could pursue the additional flexibility that the design district creates, but in order to pursue it, you have to actually make an application and create a special development district within it. So that's what the actual zone change is associated with the individual project application. So the South Main or the Route 25 mixed use design district is a geographic area. Properties within that area, provided they meet the criteria, are eligible to pursue the rights established within that design district. But in order to actually benefit from that design district and to create a project that falls within it, that's where you come in with an application to create that special development district. So it's essentially like a zone change for those individual properties. And I think Newtown, I'm just going to pull up their GIS because I think it does a good job of showing how it works. Because what it does is, again, it's a two-step process. This first step simply creates the opportunity to pursue a special design district. And in Newtown, if you zoom in their South Main Village Design District, I'm going to turn on their zoning. So this large area is the South Main Village Design District. Within this, underlying properties are either business or industrial or residential. But when someone comes in for an actual application, I'll use that Tractor Supply as an example. That's a great example. So the Tractor Supply property here used to be zoned residential. When you click on this tax card now, the zoning is SDD4. That means that when this project was proposed, the applicant created a regulation, and it needs a designation. This happens to have been the 4th special development district applied for under this overlay zone. So when they made that application, it was proposed to be special development district number 4 within the South Main Village Design District. And then that SDD4 is what was reviewed, and the commission at the time felt that that was the right place for it. It was the right use for the property. Even though the underlying zone didn't allow that use, the design district gave them the flexibility to consider it, and the special development district gave them the approval rights to establish it for that property. So the mixed use design district that we created is simply that geographic area that's eligible for it. But any project that wants to actually capitalize on it would need to come in for that SDD application, and it would simply be sequentially, just like Newtown does it. So the first project would be SDD1. That SDD1 would create its own kind of regulation, and that's what the commission would consider.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to go on, continue with the second part of your presentation?
I would, yes, thank you. So the second part that I wanted to focus on was kind of our regulation has a lot in it, and we know that the commission spent a lot of time going through the last component, which was just incorporating the mixed use into the B1, B2, and LOR district. So I kind of wanted to just, again, give a real broad overview of the different sections, and then kind of get feedback from the commissioners on exactly which sections kind of caused the most concern or are concerning that you would want us to look at and consider modifications to or focus on in future presentations as we talk about the different elements. So just running through it quick, again, the regulation creates the definition of the district. It creates the designation on what properties can be eligible. It talks about the permitted uses, and basically the underlying uses are permitted, but they can also pursue multifamily residential. It creates the design review process, the design review guidelines, general requirements, density and dimensional requirements, height, vertical design, et cetera. And again, we actually created this reg so that there's a different set of parameters for parcels that are 2 acres to 15 acres, and then parcels larger than 15 acres would get a little bit more benefit because they could pursue a project that allowed for separate structures, so residential in one structure and then commercial in the other. Still a mixed use component, but that's only eligible for properties over 15 acres. And then we talk about distribution of unit sizes, proposed improvements for sidewalks, trash collection, and then with the special development district component of the regulation, we
But,
talk about that.
Kevin, can I interrupt you for a second?
Please.
This seems like this is more than just a geographic overlay, the MDD here. It seems like you're putting a lot of bulk restrictions, et cetera, in there. And it seems like it's designed just for multi-family or multi-unit residential.
So yes, the current application, what it does is it creates this mixed use design district, and the only really added benefit at this point is the ability to pursue multifamily.
Well, wouldn't we want to put some other benefits in there?
The commission certainly could consider that, and I think personally, I think that'd be a very valuable tool that the commission would want to consider for all those other reasons that I mentioned. And I think if as you poll the commission, if that's something that they would consider, we can certainly look at again, and we expect the application and the language and the regulation to evolve throughout the duration of this public hearing. So we'd be certainly happy to consider if it's something that the commission would be looking at for more than just the multifamily component. We can certainly incorporate that.
Well, it makes sense. If we're going to reinvent the wheel here, why not broaden it?
I don't mean to interrupt also, Kevin, but we definitely need to make it more than a mixed use ability. Because to be honest with you, that's going to be a big struggle I know at least for me, if we're just making this as just a mixed use overlay, I would highly recommend that we put language in to allow things like the Tractor Supply or I don't know, running out of places, Trader Joe's, something, Costco, something along those lines. I think that's kind of just where I stand.
No, that's great feedback, and actually it's something that we've looked at, and there are other uses. We actually just got a special development district approved in Newtown for the office complex across the street from Red Rooster, and they were interested in their zone is industrial. They were interested in adding a small restaurant cafe inside their facility, which wasn't allowed in the underlying use, and the way for us to approach that was applying for an SDD and basically adding that as an additional use they could pursue, which was a great planning tool. The commission felt that was appropriate, and that's certainly something we can incorporate into this. So I think that this type of feedback is exactly why we want to break this into smaller, more meaningful chunks, so we can gather this information and really try to refine this to be something that the entire commission can be supportive of.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Mike and Bruno, Kevin, that we need to broaden this a lot more.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, especially if this is going to be somewhere that's going to be highly visible, highly, I'm assuming, I don't know, but I'm assuming you probably want this on these things probably on 111 or 25 or something along those lines, highly visible areas, and it would be nice to have them visible with some ability to have a major commercial ability to it.
And I agree with Bruno and with Mike, and I think it was Leon that agreed. My concern right now is that really, I think the only motivating factor of the reason this is in front of us is to put multi-family high-density housing in, and that's something that I'm concerned about. I would like to see some other things put in there and have those written into the regulations. My concern, as I voiced last time, was that, this appears to be going at upper 25, which is in the Stepney School District. And if we're doing high density housing, we're already pumping a school system that's bursting. So I would like to see more things other than just housing being looked at with this regulation.
Thank you. Any other feedback?
No, I mean, I'll chime in. If you moved into town and you came here because you like the way the town felt, you like the character, you like the way our school systems operate, and you happen to get into the the Stepney area, and you're going to be looking at a potential redistricting of the schools. So this is huge. This isn't something that I think we should take lightly. I'm not saying I don't like it at all, but I was a little concerned from the get-go about this, because I felt as though it was a potential Trojan horse to load us up, or an attempt to load us up with high density housing, and forget about the commercial aspect.
Okay. That was just to touch on that. That was one of the things that we did incorporate and include, was that in order to actually apply, you actually have to provide a fiscal impact assessment that actually talks about potential impacts to school systems associated with the project. But I think, as what I'm hearing is this is a good tool that the commission is looking for or interested in, but not just limited to housing. Perhaps that fiscal impact analysis, that impact analysis should include additional analysis on potential impacts to municipal services on a broader scale, and that's police, fire, EMS, schools, etc. And I may hear about this from my client later or tomorrow, but I think that might be something else that the commission may want to consider having a requirement as part of any application that's proposed under this regulation.
Agreed. Thank you. That's all, Mike.
Rick, can you get us the language that the new town is using, just to see what else they've got in their regulation?
Oh, absolutely. And as I advised the commission, I used this technique in Shelton, and the overlay district was a lot more involved and completely controlled by the commission. The commission established where the overlay district went. And then the second part was the zone change. So there's a couple ways of doing this. So, but I'll get the copies of from Newtown.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to go ahead, Mr. Solly?
Sure. Well, I think I've actually already gotten some pretty good feedback. What was there? I guess understanding a little bit more if there are any other concerns that we had proposed. The big one I'm getting is that expand this beyond just multifamily and don't try to use this as a Trojan horse. You really get the maximum benefit out of the proposed land use tool, which I agree with. There was a comment about kind of where we'd want to apply. I'm not sure. I don't know if you'd want to expand the geographic area with this specific application, because I think that could get into a much larger town-wide discussion. We were primarily focused along Route 25, but if I think that's, and I think maybe different corridors may have different requirements that the commission may want to consider. I'm trying to think what else that's in here. I think we can certainly make a number of adjustments based on just the feedback that we've gotten so far. With the application for the specific SDD, we talked about the mechanism in that it's a zone change. You approve a concept, and then after the commission approves that, there's a formal plan required to follow right subsequently. And that kind of follows what Rick's most familiar with and has the most experience with in Shelton. So that was something that we had incorporated. And I think, we've talked through that a little bit as well. So, again, any other feedback will help us with our next one. The next, our intent for the next meeting would be to kind of really focus on the area along Route 25 where this would really be eligible, what properties it would actually apply to, given the constraints we've established with the minimum acreage and the minimum setback from Route 25. So our plan on the 8th is to kind of go drive up the road, identify actual parcels through the GIS that could be eligible for this, And I think in the meantime, we'll also be working on some other tweaks to address some of the other concerns that you guys mentioned regarding more than just multifamily. And if there's any other feedback, we'd be happy to hear it. Because again, we think this is the best way to make this, we want to make this something the entire commission can be supportive of. I'd love to hear more, but if not, I know I'm happy to continue this at the next, continue this discussion at the next meeting.
Well, let's see if there are any members of the public tonight that would like to comment. Are there any members of the public here tonight that would like to comment on this application? Please identify yourselves. Okay, if not, then we'll hold this application open and get some more information for the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next on the agenda, and the last public hearing of the night, is number 8, SCP 2021-05, file number 1630A, 390 Monroe Turnpike. This is McDonald's. This is a new hearing, so I believe Ryan has the notices.
Yep. Planning and Zoning Commission, Monroe, Connecticut, notice of public hearing to be held March 18th, 2021. In accordance with CGS 8-7D, a public hearing will be held on Thursday, March 18th, 2021 at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter via GoToMeeting concerning the following. SCP 2021-05, file number 1630A, 390 Monroe Turnpike, B2 District. Special exception permit / site development plan application for improvements to existing McDonald's restaurant consisting of a new facade, design, replacement, and alteration of drive-through to provide 2 separate drive-through access lanes, each with menu boards as well as related site and parking modifications. McDonald's Real Estate Company owner and applicant. Please check the Town of Monroe website for announcements of meeting cancellations, rescheduling, and for instructions for attending and or participating remotely electronically. Complete details and copies of all related materials associated with the above matters are on file and available for viewing in the Monroe Planning and Zoning Department offices by appointment and on the town website. Published in Voices twice on Wednesday, March 3rd, 2021 and Wednesday, March 10th, 2021. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Rick, do you have the exhibits?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Exhibit 1, application and supporting materials. Number 2, plan set. Number 3, ART, town engineer. 4, ARB, referral letter. That is all.
Thank you. And looks like we have Fairfield Prep grad, Attorney Russo, with us tonight.
Yes, Chairman, members of the commission, good evening. Chris Russo with Russo and Rizzio LLC here on behalf of the applicant, McDonald's Real Estate Company. My partner, Ray Rizzio, sends his regards, but he couldn't be here tonight. Talking about 390 Monroe Turnpike, the McDonald's, I know all of you know it. And have driven by it many times. Back when we had in-person meetings, this was my go-to spot after we had a meeting and I needed to de-stress and swing by and grab some fries on my way home. We're excited to be before you. We've worked on this for a long time, we're here for a renovation of the building and the site. This building was originally built in 1994. It's hard to believe it was over 25 years ago. And in that time, McDonald's restaurants have changed a lot. Back then, a significant portion of its customers went actually into the restaurant. And by pre-COVID, that had completely flipped. About 75% of their customers came through the drive-through. During COVID, that that percentage got even greater. At one point it was 100%, but it's kind of evened out now around between the stores about 80 to 85%. It is definitely a drive-through business now. Even things like Uber Eats may surprise people that McDonald's is actually one of the top restaurants on Uber Eats. You get a lot of offices that will request somebody go pick up breakfast for everybody in the morning. So McDonald's has been going through these renovations throughout Connecticut to better address their drive-through customers. We've done them in Greenwich, Westport, Fairfield, Simsbury, Newington, and now we're here for Monroe. So basically we're here tonight to convert this McDonald's to a double drive-through. And I'll just say, as a note in the beginning, we're not increasing the size of this restaurant at all. We're not expanding the actual building footprint at all. We're also not increasing the impervious area. So we are doing this all within kind of our current footprint and current envelope that's on the site. We are just reconfiguring the site layout, and I'll share my screen and pull up the plan. Okay, so here is the redesign of our site layout, which is really the main portion of this application. We're also refacing the elevations, which I'll go through a little bit later. So this, even though this double drive-through is new, this impervious area that you see all around the restaurant, that is existing. And so we are operating all within that. And you can see right here, the proposal is to create a double drive-through lane. It helps us, take orders, to give orders to our drive-through patrons more quickly, efficiently, and reduce the backup that everybody has seen at the site during its peak times. I'll zoom in here. The double drive-through lane, just this portion from the final drive-through window all the way to the beginning, where's our drive-through entrance, we'll be able to queue 13 to 14 cars. It splits right here into the actual double drive-through lane, and in accordance with the reg that you passed recently, we have pre-browse menus at the beginning of where the splits on each lane, as well as the new menu boards. These menu boards are great help to increasing the efficiency of the drive-through. The pre-browse menus allow these two cars that you can see right here to see what are the popular items, what are the main items that most of our patrons order. It allows them to basically figure out their order in preparation for when they go to the main menu boards and actually place their order. These signs, great thing about these signs is they are actually smaller, significantly smaller. On the plan we submitted, there's a table actually that points this out. The pre-browse menu boards are very small. They're only 10 square feet. But the menu boards that we have existing are 43 square feet. We are going to reduce that by half, more than half really, to 19.7 square feet. And the reason being, with these boards, instead of it just being a static board where we have our whole menu up there, so we have our breakfast, our lunch, our dinner, you've all seen the signs. They have kind of those additions out to them that advertise, other menu items, and they're a decent size. With these new digital menu boards, we can just display the items that are currently for sale. So we don't have to have all three up at the same time. It only changes 3 to 4 times a day as that menu changes during the course of the day. It also just helps people find their order, frankly. They don't have to sort through what's breakfast, what's lunch, what's dessert, any of those things. It's just what is available to them right now. So it helps increase the speed and efficiency. McDonald's is experts at this. They have a whole university that measures timing down to the second, and they work on this to try to see what will help increase the efficiencies of these drive-throughs. In these pre-browse menu boards and the digital menu board do this. And the whole goal is to quickly and efficiently move cars through this drive-through. And the other part of this application is the elevations. We went before the ARB for 4 hearings. So we went back and back and back trying to fine tune these elevations. I know more about cement paneling and hardy plank than I think I ever would know. It's just an updated look to what is a currently dated restaurant. The ARB asked for us to leave a portion of the metal roof system that's there now. If you remember, and actually I could show you the existing restaurant. Hold on, before we get into that, let me share the existing restaurant. One second. So I know you all know what it looks like, but just to look at it quickly, the existing restaurant has this green metal roof system. The ARB asked that, and we're changing the color of it. We're moving these white rails that are on it, so this portion of it, the kind of the bottom half of that metal roof system, they asked that remain. It's a unique feature. You don't see it on a lot of McDonald's around in the area, so they wanted Monroe to have a unique feature. So we included, had this to remain. Here, let me go back to what we're proposing. Okay, so as you can see, that metal roof system will stay in place. It will change colors to match this updated color scheme. The amount of windows is not changing. It's still got, this elevation right here is the very visible elevation that you see if you're traveling south down Monroe Turnpike, and then this is this elevation right here is if you were looking directly on from Monroe Turnpike. So it has a lot of windows wrapping the front of it, and those will remain. So it really is just a refacing and updating of the color scheme on the exterior facade. And that's really the gist of the application. We have our site engineers here and our architect who worked. It was at all those ARB meetings and meeting with them to fine tune this how they wanted. She can answer any questions, but that's really essentially it. It's an attempt to address what is the significant need on the site, which is to to address the drive-through customers. And you've probably seen a lot of these double drive-throughs. You know may have seen this updated signage. They have them in a lot of the McDonald's in Fairfield now have them. There's Bridgeport has them, and it really helps these drive-throughs work and reduce the chance that you'll have backup out onto Monroe Turnpike. I'm happy to answer any questions, and we have all of our consultants and experts here to answer any questions you might have.
All right. Thank you, Attorney Russo. Rick, do you want to go over the staff comments and Scott's comments that are outstanding?
Actually, Mr. Chairman, I talked to the applicant and I didn't finalize mine. And I asked him if we can continue it to the April 8th meeting, and he did not have a problem with it. So I think
Okay.
the staff reports we can take up at the next meeting and just use the team that Chris has tonight to go over it.
All right, then we'll poll the commissioners at this point. Let's see, we'll start with Nicole. Commissioner Lupo.
Yeah, thank you. Good presentation, Attorney Russo. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've been here since the beginning of McDonald's in Monroe, so I definitely agree with the upgrades. I think it looks great from an architectural standpoint. My only question is, can we see some information on the double drive-throughs? I just can't envision in my head there being enough space how it's currently set up to have 2 drive-throughs and then enough room for tractor trailers or U-Hauls or whatever might try getting around that corner with a dumpster where it is. That's my only spot that I'm struggling with to see this.
No, and I should have discussed that. So that's a great question. This is because we had discussions with staff about this for quite some time. So this is the existing site and or existing layout, I should say. And when you come into the site, here's the area. You could see this crosshatch where the double drive-through is going in this area. The change that's occurring from this plan to our proposed plan is these spaces are turned. They're not 90 degrees, but they're turned at an angle, so they point out. On our plan, we've switched these to parallel parking spaces. And our intent is to designate these 4 spaces as for employee parking, so that if need be, we can move them. This aisle right here is 15.3 feet, which is enough for a car to get through. And our trucks don't come during they don't come or they're really there early morning is when they come for trash pickup and for deliveries. And so they really won't conflict with these spaces, but we were going to designate and when in discussions with staff that we've had previously, we had discussed designating these as employee parking spaces. So if for some reason one of our delivery trucks was coming later in the day, that we could move those vehicles. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen occasionally. These also, I mean, these 4 spaces and the spaces as they are existing now don't get used a lot. If anything, that's where our employees park. I mean, if you're a patron, you're actually going into the restaurant, you obviously want to park as close as you can to the door. The other option, which is permitted under the regulations, was to designate these 4 spaces as deferred parking. Under the regs, we're allowed, or the commission, I'm sorry, has the discretion to designate 15% of the parking spaces as deferred parking. So they actually wouldn't be used as parking unless in the future a demand rose for them. I have to be honest, if there's any direction that the parking demand would go is that we would just need lesser and lesser parking, because this just continues to move towards essentially a drive-through business only. We provide under this plan 49 spaces, which is compliant with the regulations. And if the commission felt that these 4 spaces weren't necessary, we could mark them as deferred parking under your regulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. From a safety perspective, I would be in favor of deferring those spots. I mean, I go by McDonald's all the time, even before the pandemic, and those spots back there are never used. I would just be concerned if there were cars parked there, and let's say, God forbid, there was a fire and a fire truck's trying to get around that bend, they're not going to be able to make it. And you can't trust people in the drive-through to get out of the way, or if there's a line. So I would be in favor of deferring those spots. But other than that, I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And we would be happy to accept that as a condition of approval, that those 4 spaces be deferred. Which just means they would remain as they are, except we would remove the parking striping that's there now.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Panici.
Hi, Mr. Russo. Good presentation.
Thank you.
So just an explanation. So the drive-through cars are coming in at a single line? And they're going into a double. Is that at the ordering point?
Correct. So here, let me try to zoom in as much as I can here so you can see it. So they come in, and actually just because there was a comment from Scott Schatzline on his, he submitted comments for this application, and he asked that this sign be put in, no stopping for drive-through prior to this point. So that we put that sign in, per his comments. But in reality, we have a 13 to 14 car queue right here. And so, the point of this is to not let it back up to that point. So they would enter here, single lane, and then it splits right here towards the back of what I call the back of the restaurant, or I guess the back's really over here, but this end of the restaurant, it splits, and we have your 2 pre-browse menu boards here for these 2 vehicles, and then there's a menu board here and a menu board here for these vehicles to order, and then it comes back into a single drive-through lane.
So they pick up the order at a single when they're at a single again.
Yes, they do. They do. But it just the speed that they're able to take these orders in allows this to flow much quicker. And McDonald's prides itself in being able to crank out that food as quickly as possible. And so with this increased efficiency, they're able to get these cars through in a shorter amount of time.
All right, so you answered my first thing with the engineer requirements in the beginning. What do you have at this point right here to allow the cars to proceed safely?
I'm sorry, to what safely?
In other words, both of these 2 cars place the order, and let's say that they both are proceeding at the same time. How do you manage to make them go safely single again?
Well, they do have to merge here, but they are starting. I mean, they've stopped, right? So they've stopped at this point, and so from being stopped to here, they're really not moving fast at all, and they can merge safely at that speed. I mean, they're gonna they're gonna be able to see each other. It's only these 2 signs here. There's nothing else blocking them. So when they come out, they'll be going slow enough that they can that they can see each other, and it ends up working out that they leave alternately. because I think the same employee will deal with them one after the other. It ends up working out that it ends up being alternating.
Would you consider putting some kind of a signage that says caution, cars merging?
Sure. Yeah, I could talk to them about that. There's some type of sign here that says caution, merge traffic or something like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Westland.
All right, definitely going to be some challenges and obstacles navigating around the building. I also think that deferral on the parking spaces wouldn't be an unreasonable request, for safety and just for lack of, potential on accidents and, that type of thing. Everybody's distracted when they're moving around, looking at different things. So I feel that those spots, I don't think it's going to be all that pivotal in business to get rid of them. And also, my thoughts on the double drive-through is that they're a must-have in today's fast food business climate. Pre-browse menu, very good, efficiency tool to keep everybody moving through, and it's also good for marketing. And I think this helps, our businesses stay healthy, and I'm a fan of all this. So other than the parking spots, I'm good with all of it.
And just so you know, this drive-through area is a different material. So there's going to they're going to look different from the asphalt pavement. So the people that are coming onto the site are going to, clearly see that this is the drive-through lane, and that this area on the outside is, the kind of the emergency or outlet lane that goes around it.
It just seems like it's neck down tight. I understand, and most people that go through these drive-throughs have been through them 1,000 times. It just seems like it's, it's neck down tight, and, larger vehicles and that kind of thing may struggle to get around there. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ambrosi.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with deferring the parking spaces, as Nicole said and Rob said, because, God forbid if you had to get a fire truck behind there and somebody was parked there, there's no way you're gonna fit a fire truck behind there. The other question I have to ask you is, when you went to ARB, they didn't have issues with you squaring off the building like you did?
Let me
The
pull
top
up.
of the building?
So this portion of the building is actually already flat. It's this one that right here where that metal roof kind of continues at an angle. And
Right.
actually the urgent care across the street looks similar. And so we were looking at that and had discussions like that. Obviously it's different. I mean, the urgent care building is one much bigger building, and a completely different facade. But they thought it meant, because that has kind of a flat, it does have a flat roof as well. And so, and that's directly across the street. So that's why, we kind of came to that, and they were in favor of this layout.
They were in favor of it this way?
Yes. Yes.
All right, because, well, I just wanted to see, I didn't see anything from them. Rick, did we get anything from the Architectural Review Board?
Oh, yes, we have, yeah.
You didn't
You have it, I'll
packet?
send it out.
Okay, that's all the questions I had to ask. Thank you.
Thanks. They
Commissioner
wouldn't have let me leave that. I would have to go on to 5 more hearings if I didn't get it the way they wanted. We kept going back and back, but they were very helpful, and we kept tweaking and came to this design.
My turn. All right, I have no problem with the front of the building, but going back to the 2 drive-throughs, I'm going to assume that they're never going to release 2 cars at the same time there, because if one guy waves the other guy on, you're going to mess up orders. They won't know who ordered what if you if you split up the staggering. So they're probably going to have to stagger those vehicles. So I don't think there's really going to be a merging problem. That would just be my thought. I could be wrong. And then also you got it. Yeah, you have to get rid of those spaces, not just because of fire trucks, but as you said, you know, you're worried about truck deliveries, but truckers and bus drivers also like McDonald's. And you're going to need to be able to get a truck that stops to get his coffee or whatever. He's going to have to be able to get around that building. So those spots have to go. And that's it for me.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mayini.
I'm good.
I have no questions either. Let's see if there's any members of the public here tonight that have any questions or comments. Are there any members of the public here tonight that would like to comment on this application? Okay, I don't see any. Are there any members of the public here tonight that would like to comment on this application? Please make yourselves known at this time. If not, then we'll go back to Attorney Russo. I know we're going to keep the hearing open, but do you have any last comments?
No, I think that's it, Chairman. Thanks for everybody's comments. And again, we're happy to accept as a condition of approval that those 4 parking spaces be deferred, listed as deferred parking. And we'll wait for staff comments for you know, and if there's any response we need or further comments on it.
Hey, Chris, is it reasonable to incorporate the minor changes tonight for the April 8th meeting so the commissioner can see the clean drawing?
Yes, you mean just showing basically the 4 parking spaces gone? And,
Yeah, and in the introduction of merger signs.
Yeah, and introduction of merger signs as well. Yep. Absolutely.
Okay, then if there are no other comments or questions, we'll continue this hearing. And that ends the public hearings for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, number 9 is pending meeting minutes. We have the February 18th minutes that are drafted. The chair will entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
Motion to accept the minutes as drafted.
I have a motion. We need a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, then I will call the roll. Westland,
Westland, yes.
Ambrosi,
Yes.
Condon,
Yes.
or Mayini,
Yes.
and O'Reilly, yes. Minutes pass. We have number 10, time extension request. I have a letter from Foley Engineering dated February 12th. On behalf of Astro Land Holdings, of whom we're all familiar, we formally request the commission grant an extension of time allowed to complete the work associated with the permit, which is SUB 2015-02, by 5 years. Difficulties in coordinating efforts among team players and other delays resulting in the state of emergency is why they're asking for this extension. So this extension went before Inland Wetlands on their last meeting. I believe it was their last meeting, because this application had to go before them as well. And as you know, they see the applications before we do. So Inland Wetlands granted a 2-year extension on this application. So I'm just going to recommend that we follow suit with inland wetlands and grant a 2-year extension on this subdivision permit. I'm going to poll the commissioners if you have any questions or you'd like to grant a longer extension or shorter extension. Let's start with Commissioner Lupo.
I don't think I'm allowed to comment. Am I, Mike? Because I'm not seated.
Well, this is not, I don't think this is deliberation, but what do you say, Rick?
No, it's the 5 members that are going to vote on it.
All right, then we stick with that. So we'll start with Commissioner Westland.
There was talk of some, the extension with, with the order from Connecticut, whether or not there was violations within the last year. I read the notes from Barbara Schellenberg, and I can't find the note right now, but was it found that there was actually a violation during this period?
Well, let me clarify it. The 5-year request is for the re-subdivision. That involves the road. This has nothing to do with the filling and grading application, which has clearly expired, and there's a cease and desist on it.
Right.
As Barbara indicated, this is clearly the discretion of the commission. You can reject it, approve it for all 5 years or any portion thereof. And if you do reject it, you should explain why. And like I said, there is a cease and desist order on the property, and that involves the previously application for the filling and grading, which has since expired.
Yeah. I mean, I'll follow their lead at 2 years. I don't have a problem with that.
It is to be noted, there is a bond on this. The bond continues.
Got it.
Commissioner Ambrosi?
Yeah, Rick, is there violations on this application?
Not this application. This is the infrastructure. I was advised you got to separate the two issues.
No, I
On
understand
this
that.
property.
I just wanted to make sure that if we're going to give an extension, that it wasn't part of
The cease and desist. That is correct.
this. Right, okay.
They just didn't finish the work, and it's bonded.
And there's no violations that stand on that portion
Pertaining to section 4, that is correct.
to the subdivision part of it, because
Right.
they were going to extend the road and bring utilities down there?
That is correct.
Okay. That's all I have for now.
Thank you. Commissioner Condon?
I'm okay with doing the 2 years.
Commissioner Mayini?
I agree. I'm good with the 2 years.
Okay, then, Rick, do we need to vote on it?
Yeah, we need a motion and a second and roll call.
Chair will entertain a motion to grant a 2-year extension to SUB 2015-02.
Make a motion to grant a 2-year extension on the SUB. I forgot what you said there, bud. Sorry, I don't have it in front of me.
2015-02.
2015-2, yes.
I have a motion, need a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I'll call the roll.
Mike, hold on for 1 minute. Does this start from when the original one expired, or does this start from today's date?
The expiration date is March 3rd, 2021.
No.
Starts from there.
Today says March 3rd, 21, so it's going to start from March 3rd,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Mike, that's all I wanted to clarify. That's it. All right.
All right, then we'll We have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion? If not, we'll call the roll. Westland,
Westland, yes.
Ambrosi,
Yes.
Condon,
Yes.
Mayini,
Yes.
and O'Reilly, yes. Okay, thank you. Now we are going to deliberate on a couple of applications. We have RAA 2021-03, file number 1017E. This is the off-street parking requirements. I think, Rick, you you have a draft acceptance here on that. You want to go over that briefly?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, staff was directed to prepare a favorable resolution. This is regarding the text amendments that would affect the Ole soccer facility. The Monroe Planning and Zoning Commission is considering the following zoning regulation text amendments as set forth in the proposed draft. Regulation draft petition to existing section 10.2 to reduce the required off-street parking for an indoor recreational facility from 6 spaces to 3.5 spaces for 1,000 square feet of building area. Whereas the pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes 8-3B, notice of the proposed zoning action was referred and receipt acknowledged in a timely manner and form to the following regional planning agencies: Connecticut Metropolitan Council of Governments, no regional significant impact; Naugatuck Valley Council of Government, not regionally significant and have no apparent intermunicipal impact; Western Connecticut Council of Governments, proposals of local interest and with minimal intermunicipal impact. The zoning petition was referred to the towns of Easton, Trumbull, Newtown, Oxford, and Shelton with no comments received. Copy of the proposed zoning actions was duly filed with the Monroe Town Clerk. The public notice was published twice in the Voices. The commission has considered the proposed text amendment at a duly noticed public hearing, which was open and closed on March 4th, 2021, in which interested parties were afforded an opportunity to be heard. Now therefore be resolved. We need a motion and a second to approve the above referenced zoning regulation text amendments as set forth herein. With the following reasons: the zoning actions will not have a negative impact on regulating indoor recreational facilities, nor will it adversely impact neighboring properties. The zoning actions are consistent with the plan of conservation and development, whereby promoting economic development, and the zoning actions will allow for the reduction of unnecessary parking and runoff and facilitate smart growth. The smart growth is a term that's being used quite regularly just for the new members, and you'll be seeing more of that in your discussions and deliberations. The commission hereby authorizes the publishing of the notice of decision pursuant to General Statutes 8-3D, and the approval should not become effective until the zoning text amendments is filed in the town clerk's office, along with the copy of the endorsed resolution. And the text amendments approved herein shall become effective on Friday, March 26, 2021. And that is it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Rick. Chair will accept a motion to adopt this text amendment REA 2021-03. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve RAA-2021-03, file 1017E.
We have a motion. I need a second.
Second.
A motion and a second to adopt the amendment. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll call the roll. We have the 5 seated members. Westland,
Westland, yes.
Ambrosi,
Yes.
Condon,
Yes.
Mayini,
Yes.
and O'Reilly, yes. The motion passes. The zoning regulation is adopted. I'd like to deliberate on RAA 2021 and SCP 2021-01, the last mile support facility at 10 Victoria Drive. You all familiar with that? We just heard the presentation tonight. We closed it tonight. We wanted a couple of things. One is the signage for the trail to be put up. And I think they did everything else. They did the extra planting.
Yeah. And the weight confirmation, Mr. Chairman, and the declaration, submission of declaration to the assessor.
Okay. Does anyone want to start the discussion? Is there any discussion?
I'm good on a conditional approval.
Rob?
I'm good on a conditional approval.
Okay. Ryan?
Yeah, I'm good.
Leon?
Yeah, I just wanted to discuss with Rick on how you're going to handle the commercial parking.
Yeah, you heard the applicant, and I've been talking with Joe Chapman, who's very knowledgeable with that, and I'm gonna run that by the commission. I'll start with you, Leon, because you're knowledgeable too. And I'll shoot that out before the draft is done.
Okay.
Okay, Bruno, did you?
I'm good with everything except for one thing. I'm a little disappointed tonight with the talk of money and the talk of the amount of money that this project will bring into town. I've been on this board for 5-6 years now. Never once, not one time, has there ever been a discussion of the amount of tax money something would bring into this town. And I'll be honest with you, kind of upset about it. Never once would I ever vote for a project for the amount of money it would bring in. Never once would I stand for something that solely based on tax money. Never once has it ever been brought up in any meeting that I've been a part of. And I'm just extremely disappointed about that. Other than that, everything else is good to go.
So Rick, is that something that's typically part of a hearing, or is it unusual? I don't really recall myself.
Well, as you know, when you go through a process like this, many times you ask for a fiscal impact analysis, and that was part of the record. I needed to summarize it because I needed to refer to the assessor's office. Because if it's extremely off base, it's got to be noted for the record. And
Okay, then. Okay, if that is the truth, then Leon, how long have you been a part of this board?
Probably, I don't know, going on 6 years, 7 years.
How many times has tax money been brought up in a meeting with you?
I don't believe I've ever heard of it.
I'm just saying, it's kind of weird that all of a sudden it comes up tonight for that project. Just a little disconcerting. Not that we were going to decide, not that that was a deciding factor. I mean, they followed everything to the letter and they made the changes that we wanted. I just don't understand how it's never been brought up before, and then all of a sudden today it comes up. And in all the years I've been here, never once has it come up and never once has it mattered. I'm just throwing that out there, and I hope that we never discuss this again.
And hey, Bruno, you raised a good point. In Shelton, with all the PDD zone changes, that came up quite a bit. And it got to be quite excessive because that was the main focus. And you're right. And so it's something that the commission needs to identify and direct staff on that, because you do want that document as part of your submission, so you can look at it.
I understand, but this is the first I've ever heard of it in the years I've been here, and it's the first time it ever came up. I just don't understand how it comes up on this project and has never come up on any project before. Obviously, we all know that tax money will be brought in because of being a commercial building. I mean, no matter what you build in town, something tax-wise comes in. Just it's never come up before. Never, ever, ever come up before. And now all of a sudden it comes up today. And now all of a sudden I'm hearing, then this is the first I'm hearing that we should even receive something about it. Like, this is all new to me. It's just disconcerting because I never, ever in my life will make a decision for this town based on the amount of tax money it will bring in to the town. I mean, it could be record, obviously, it could be given to us. If there's 100 things for me to pick, that'll be 101.
Right. I believe the Walmart facility, that came up, so, but it's the commission's call because you established policy.
All right. So then it sounds like we're going to direct staff to draft a approval with the conditions that were mentioned. We have one more item on the agenda that we can deliberate on tonight. That is SUB 2021-01, file number 1266. See, this is the United Methodist Church. So I believe, obviously, we're all familiar with the United Methodist Church. Everything was in order. They complied with our requests for the access to the open space in the back. The only question on this one is the waiver. And we heard Rick inform us that the town engineer and the fire commissioner were not in favor of the waiver. But we also saw that, in my opinion, this would place an undue burden and hardship on the property owner and would never be able to develop that property without putting that water main in, which would be pretty much in dead end where to the water main.
And Mr. Chairman, you need to do this in sequence. The waiver needs to be discussed first, because if the consensus is deny the waiver, then the application goes down.
Okay, well then we'll discuss the waiver first. I am in favor of granting the waiver. So all the commissioners will start with Rob Westland on the waiver.
Well, I'm in favor of granting the waiver as well.
All right, then Brian Condon,
Yeah, I'm in favor of granting the waiver.
Leon,
Well, Mike, I have concerns about granting the waiver, but I mean, on this certain incident, I mean, I could be persuaded either way, but I mean, the fire marshal had big concerns about it. The same thing like when we don't put sidewalks in and then people say, well, you know, there was no sidewalks here before, and then we got rid of the sidewalks, and now people talk about, well, we want to connect sidewalks together. And the only way that the water main ever gets further down the road is through development. And it just only doesn't serve that one property. It also serves, you know, another, whatever it would be, 300 feet or 500 feet going down the road. It would serve to those other people that are houses there, that we're struggling right now with water, and they have to bring in tanker trucks. So I think that the fire marshal has a great concern, and so it does the town engineer. But I can lean either way.
okay, Bruno,
I'm in the same boat. I could lean either way. I know it would benefit other people. It just is a huge expense for one property. So I get it. I understand it. It's fine.
all right, so we are talking about the 5 seated commissioners. It sounds like we're leaning towards granting the waiver. Do we need a separate vote on that, Rick?
No, I incorporated, I prepared a resolution in anticipation of going either way. So if you want me to read it, you can dispose of this application tonight.
All right, go ahead.
Oh, and there is a fire hydrant on the corner. So I just wanted to note that for the record.
Hey, Rick, Rick, before we go any further, I just want to ask you one more question. Did anybody in the town, did the town engineer calculate how much it would cost to bring that water main down to the end of the property? Did anybody ever do that in the town?
Oh, yeah. The Aquarium Water Company provides the estimates, and both the fire marshal and the town engineer reviews that.
And did we get a copy of that?
Absolutely.
Do we know how much it was going to be?
Yeah, $200,000 to go to lot 1 from where it ends.
Okay, because I thought what Jordan was saying was like 300,000, 350,000 or something like that.
Well, it goes up if you run into more ledge. You know how it works, you know?
No, I know, but I didn't, we never got anything on that, nor
Yeah,
did we ever get anything from you, telling us how much it would cost to bring the water main down, and it would be, I think, for this commission to have a little bit more information on what it would cost to do that, either from the town engineer or from you or from the water company, so that we can make a better decision on the next subdivision that maybe this will come in front of us again.
Yeah.
So, I mean, unless we know how much it's going to cost, it's.
It's minimum of 200,000.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Rick, you want to briefly review the approval?
Yeah, re-subdivision approval for 515 and 529 Cutlass Farm Road. Whereas the Planning and Zoning Commission is considering an application for a 3-lot residential re-subdivision for the United Methodist Church of Monroe, involving 2 parcels identified as 515 and 529 Cutlass Farm Road, as detailed in the associated application material. Whereas in the course of the review, the commission has noted the following. The subject property located in the southerly side of Cutlass Farm Road consists of 15.7 acres, zone residential and farming district 3, R3. The subject property contains the UMCM church and parsonage located on lots 2 and 3, along with approximately 6 acres on lot 1, which is being proposed, of undeveloped land along the westerly boundary of lot 2. The subject property is not located within 500 feet of a town boundary or subject to any known easements. The re-subdivision proposes the creation of a 3rd lot identified as lot 1 for the construction of a new single-family dwelling, and the retention of lots 2 and 3, which contain the parsonage and the church, both served by individual subsurface septic system of public water. The church hooked up to the water first, then through an easement on private property, they extended the water to the parsonage. That is no longer allowed. It's got to go in the right of way and then comes in from the front of the lot. The subject property is more particularly proposed to be divided as follows. Lot 1, 6 acres, that's the proposed lot. Lot 2, parsonage, 3 acres. Lot 3, the church, 4.2 acres. Existing public water main service will not be extended to lot 1 as requested by the applicant and has submitted a waiver, which you discussed tonight. Individual lot subsurface disposal system for lot 1 is proposed. According to the Monroe Health Department, the soils on site are suitable to accommodate the on-site sewage disposal system. The re-subdivision does not propose to construct sidewalks. The re-subdivision proposes to convey 2.3 acres of open space to the town, including a pedestrian easement over lot 3. The site is not within a public watershed or floodplain. The site does not contain wetlands, and there is no regulated 100-foot upland review area. The commission considered the proposed re-subdivision at a duly noticed public hearing, which hearing was opened on March 4th and closed on March 18th, 2021. Notice of the public hearing was filed with the Monroe Town Clerk and was published twice in the Voices. The commission, in accordance with section 111-202 of the subdivision land regulation, hereby finds that the proposed re-subdivision, associated development plans, and accompanying certificate, documents, and data conform to the requirements of the land subdivision regulations. Okay, we need a motion and a second, and it's contingent on being a further resolve that the application hereby includes the granting of a waiver in accordance with section 111-800 of the following requirement of the land subdivision regulations. And that this approval only relates to the re-subdivision and related improvements as described in the re-subdivision application and as shown on the final re-subdivision map and re-subdivision construction plan. Be it further resolved, the commission hereby authorizes the publishing of a notice of decision consistent with the requirements of the subdivision regulations. And that is it. Once again, as a reminder, they are regrading in front of the new lot number 1. The engineer suggested additional grading, but it would have been quite the undertaking. So it was recommended by all to just limit it to in front of lot 1. There is no need for any street trees because of the existing treed area. So, Mr. Chairman, we're ready for a motion and second, and it incorporates the waiver of the public water.
Okay, thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to adopt re-subdivision 2021-01.
Make a motion to approve SUV-2021-01, file number 1266C, along with waiver.
Have a motion, I need a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? If not, we'll call the roll. It's the same seated 5 members. Westland,
Westland, yes.
Ambrosi,
Ambrosi, yes.
Condon,
Condon, yes.
Mayini,
Yes.
O'Reilly, yes. So it is adopted. Thank you. Moving along on the agenda, we have regulation review, amendment work session. Rick, we have a couple of things that came out of the regulation subcommittee that will be coming forward, I think, on the 22nd. But you want to go ahead and go over that?
Yes, staff submitted, referred to draft zoning text amendments dealing with the accessory outdoor dining regs and the minor site plan. Essentially, we're making the accessory outdoor dining regulations be regulated by a minor site plan. That is with staff. As indicated to the commission, staff under my report will give you a monthly summary of all the applications that we are doing. It's important that the commission stay involved with this. As of today, we have 4 restaurants in town that want to proceed. We are working with them on their final design solution. The biggest issue, as you know, is the protection around these areas because they're looking to make these permanent, and we have to protect the patrons from the vehicles. Accidents do happen, so we have to use the appropriate materials surrounding these areas.
And so, Rick, what are you suggesting to put around those areas?
Oh, reinforced concrete type of material, but it has to have a finished side to it. Not a block, but there are decorative concrete type of structures that can be used, and you can really dress them up. You can also use the concrete filled bollards, but
Right.
that requires a lot of them. And I think the best technique is to go with a solid structure and have a nice to it.
And will they be pinned into the ground?
Absolutely.
Okay, so when you approve that, we'll get a copy of that approval
Oh, absolutely.
with the
Especially,
structure and
yeah, in the very beginning, I need to show you the aesthetics. It's
no, the
gonna,
aesthetic and the major part I have with it, Rick, is the safety factor and also the
Yeah.
aesthetics. But God forbid if somebody runs into somebody over there and kills somebody in the parking lot. We got to make sure that we get this right. And I don't mind
Absolutely.
doing it as long as it's done right. That's where I'm at with that. That's just me speaking.
right. You cannot have lightweight structures. It just won't work. So that's the direction that we're going in. I think if you look at the Vazis situation there, that worked out pretty good. But they're modifying theirs too. They're moving it a little bit, so we have to incorporate it. Now, in this text amendment, we are eliminating prohibited locations, including parking areas. They're all going primarily in the parking areas. Sidewalks and walkways, they use the sidewalks, like Bella Vista's Pizzeria. We do, however, require the landscape buffer. We also are eliminating the 25% maximum area. That just didn't work, and we may have to come back to that. Staff is going to give it a lot of thought, obviously. Right now, you had a maximum area, but we never thought 1 year ago that this would be permanent. So the commission went on the restrictive side, which is 25%, and that doesn't work for the applicant. Containment, separation, and protection provision. Once again, I changed the wording from the commission to staff. We're keeping the same utilities, water and sewage disposal. Site lighting, we're going with dark sky compliant. The commission goes with that all the time, so let's be consistent with that. The sound system, we did modify that. There are instances where they have movies for the children, so we need to be aware of that, but we put in the provision that it cannot cause a public nuisance. Right now, sound systems were prohibited. I don't think there's a problem if you have acoustic music going on, as long as it's not amplified. And like I said, there are some restaurants that want to do a movie night. And the hours of operation, the commission restricted it from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Generally speaking, I don't anticipate it going much longer, but I just changed that to in accordance with local and state regulations. So there's a lot of small changes. They all add up, and obviously they need to work.
So what's the state and local hours?
Well, the state of Connecticut through the Liquor Commission, imposes the hours, 1 o'clock, 2
Yes,
o'clock.
that's 1 p.m. So that's 1 p.m. in the morning, 1 p.m. and
Yeah.
1 a.m. Right?
And the restaurants want to be able to continue with that flexibility with the State Liquor Commission.
And that's for outside, like you said, for
Outside
music.
consumption, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, that's for music and all sorts of stuff like that.
And the music, once again, not amplified music, acoustical. They usually end the set at 10 o'clock. And we will put that in the application too. How long will your musical entertainment go? Because you really don't want to get past 10 o'clock. I think that's going to create.
So I mean on a main road and something like that, but when it gets close to a residential area or
Yes.
something like that, that could turn out to be a lot of concern. So we need to make sure that when we do this, when we approve it, that it's not too close to residential people, because there's nobody that's going to be monitoring that, Rick, at that time of night.
Well, the first couple of months, staff's got to monitor it, Leanne. We really do. So I'll be out there Joe will be out there and Bill Holsworth. And that's another reason why I want you to deputize me tonight too, because we need the enforcement.
Okay.
We have to be out there for the first
Any
couple.
other questions? Are there any other questions for Rick?
And staff is recommending a public hearing April 22nd.
I also wanted to just remind Rick, we had talked about also getting a list on a monthly basis of the current violations. And, you know, we could also have a discussion about what actions are being taken, you know, month to month. So all these don't, you know, get kind of swept under the carpet.
Right. I started out at the last meeting. I'm going to continue to do so. That'll be at the next meeting.
Excellent. Thank you.
Is that the only thing we're going to bring out of the regulation subcommittee at this point?
Yeah, for this, Mr. Chairman, because it is high priority. The restaurants are asking for the commission's assistance.
All right. Next item on the agenda is the appointment of a deputy zoning enforcement officer. So I propose that we appoint Rick Schultz as the deputy zoning enforcement officer.
And
Second.
if I can add, Mr. Chairman, the town hall is opening up Monday. We're going to be getting back to a regular schedule. Most of staff, because they're long-term, get between 4 and 5 months of vacation. We need the continuity. We all gave up vacations last year, as you all know. I know staff wants to take 1 week and 2 week vacations, but we cannot stop applications.
So then you would fill in when
Yeah, when Joe's on vacation.
CEO is on vacation, okay. Does that require a vote?
Yes, yeah, and I have to put illegal in the paper.
Is that tonight or will we do that next meeting?
No, I would recommend that you do that tonight because it's important.
All right, well then the chair will entertain a motion to appoint Rick as the deputy zoning enforcement officer.
I make a motion to appoint Rick as deputy zoning enforcement officer.
Thank you. I have a motion. I need a second.
Second.
That was
Everyone seconded.
Commissioner Condon seconds that. Is there any other discussion?
Well, just that, Rick, this is only going to be used if Joe is on vacation or Joe is not in the office, or how does that work?
Yeah, if he's incapacitated, absolutely. He's the lead CEO.
Okay, that's all.
Okay, then I'll call the roll. Westland,
Westland, yes.
Ambrosi,
Yes.
Condon,
Yes.
Mayini,
Yes.
and O'Reilly, yes. I don't think we have any correspondence. I have no chairman's report. Any of the commissioners have anything to report?
Well, yes, Mike, I just want to talk to Rick for a second. In Georgia, is Georgia here?
Yes.
Now, when did you send out that other material today?
Multiple times.
Yeah, I don't have my email open in front of me, but there were a couple emails, one that went out yesterday or actually one that went out Tuesday, and I believe there were 2 that went out today.
Right, so like Rick, like I said,
Yeah.
I don't check that email all the time. I checked it the other day, there was nothing there. I open it up tonight before I come to the meeting, and it has all this stuff, and I have no way, well, I could print it all out, but I gotta sit there in front of a printer. I don't have much time to do that. And if you're gonna send something, at least call me and let me know, because I don't check that email all the time. And I don't want to get it like a day or 2 before the meeting so I can compare it, especially if it's an approval, so I can compare it to my notes.
Absolutely. Things
All right.
have settled down. The last 2 months were pretty crazy.
And are we gonna get anybody to replace Will?
That process starts in May, yes.
It starts in May. Okay. All right. And then, and like I said, doesn't ARB give you reports and stuff like that? And how come we don't get those?
No, those were sent out in the correspondence.
I didn't get, no, I didn't get anything in this over here
Okay.
from McDonald's. So I just looked through the whole file and I got the file here and I didn't get any of that.
Okay, I'll make note of that, that doesn't happen again.
Okay. All right. That's all I have.
Any other commissioners have any reports, questions or complaints? All right, if not, then the land use staff report is last. Rick, do you want to?
Yeah, tonight, tonight I just want to focus on the POCD. The final draft you all have. The public hearing is scheduled on April 28th. I'll be sending out a notice, but please mark your calendars. 7 p.m. Now, a copy was sent to Office of Policy and Management, which is a requirement. And I want to inform the commission again tonight, because of the executive order, the current 2010 POCD would have expired in December of 2020. The executive order extended it past our April 28th meeting. What that enables is the town to do grant applications and have a valid POCD. If you don't have a valid POCD, it can be rejected or you have to ask for a waiver. So it's important that you understand that we're in full compliance because of the executive order. But please read the 80-page document. There's a lot in there. I continue to get requests to add some minor tweaks and some revisions. So please give that a read. Francisco will be doing the presentation. We're hoping to open the hearing, close it, and adopt it and establish an effective date. And as I indicated to Leon, the first meeting of every month, moving on to the next issue, the first meeting of every month, I will have my staff report and I'll detail the zoning enforcement, also anti-blight. By the way, we have one building that's on the anti-blight list and we are going to be taking action. The owner said I cannot come up with the $7,000 to $8,000. It's on Monroe Turnpike. I don't want to go into the specifics, but it's highly visible. The building is collapsing and we got to get it raised during spring. So we are going to be enforcing that and that'll be on my report at the next meeting.
Rick, when was the POCD meeting again? I'm sorry, I missed that.
April 28th, 7 p.m.
Thank you.
And you raised a good point too, Nicole. Are we inclined to do a hybrid or does all the members want to meet in the town council chambers?
I'd rather chambers.
I say
Yeah, I'm ready
chambers.
to get back to chambers.
Yeah, me too, Rick.
Do you want to make that the first meeting or do you want our next meeting to be live too? Town hall opens up Monday.
Well, I believe we should be back in the chambers.
I'm okay with next meeting being live.
I agree. Back to chambers.
Live.
Okay.
Okay, good.
All right.
I want to see everybody's face.
You do see our face.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to wear
You guys
pants.
are a lot more handsome in person, though.
Yeah.
Well, you couldn't go anyway, Bruno. If we had it tonight, you would have got COVID.
Yeah. It is going to be different, everyone. We have the plexiglass plates up.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's a separation.
So
Bruno's
we could
is
write.
soundproof, right?
We could write notes on the plexiglass.
Or bring a stick of lipstick. Sure.
Okay, anything else for tonight? This will be the last go-to meeting.
It's your call, Mr. Chair.
Until the next epidemic. Oh, until we close down town hall again. All right, great. This will be the last one. Gonna have to get dressed and go out into the weather. All right, then the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
And I have a motion. I need a second.
Second.